If you literally take an interest in people and be present, it will open up your own happiness. Life's about relationships and building those good stories with people. We're responsible for ourselves, and we answer to ourselves, and we answer to our employees and our clients.
Welcome to Decision Points. I'm Scott Wood, and I'm here today with William Short, CEO of AmeriFlex. Welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So full disclosure, William and I have a long friendship together, so this will be fun today.
Great, looking forward
to it. I haven't seen him in a little while. We've shared a YPO forum for about a decade now, right? Maybe a little longer? A little longer, yeah. And so I think we've all kind of graduated. Some of us have graduated. William's on the younger end of our YPO forum, so he hasn't officially graduated out of YPO young into YPO old yet, but we still get together on a regular basis, but we've missed each other the last couple times, so this will be good today.
Looking forward to it.
How are things?
No complaints. It's great. It's great. Couldn't write a better script.
Yeah.
Movie.
Speaking of scripts, you just have finished a new book, is that right?
Yeah. Book number 2.
Yeah.
Mom loved the first one. She gave me 5 stars.
Your mom did?
She did.
Okay,
she
good.
Like the first one. So the second one, if you need to level a table or start a fire, it's going to be great for that.
Okay.
And I'm sure Mom will like it.
So tell us just a little bit about the first book and a little bit about the second book and what motivated you to write each of them.
Sure. So I'm a classic dyslexic, so writing is an adventure. Anyone that gets my emails knows that, they can tell if it's a Nigerian prince trying to steal your information from me, because it's one long run-on sentence for about 3 pages. So part of it is just seeing if I could do it.
Yeah.
Second part is I've just got these crazy ideas I've had for a long time, as you know, as I sit around a forum and pontificate on different ideas. And I thought, if I could put it on a paper and I could convince someone of the idea, or maybe they wouldn't agree with me, but at least I get the idea across, then it'd be worth something.
Yeah.
So the first book's called 127 Grains, and it's really a book about, the individual and the role of government. How does the individual play with the government? What's the role of government? How can we make productive, societies that benefit individuals and communities as a whole? The second book is completely different, so it's completely going a totally different direction. And the thought is, every day we are dealt with different words and different influencing strategies that we are bombarded with. And so how can someone position themselves through an allegorical story of, what does this word mean? What are they trying to convince to me? How can I make the best decisions with the least amount of information? And so that's called Thinking Boldly. It's the second book. So we'll see if Mom likes it.
And you're self-publishing both of these books?
So I've got an editor, and we have a little partnership in putting that together. But yes, we're publishing it through Amazon. And this one, both of them took me each about 10 years to write, because when you're, a bunch of run-on sentences and dyslexic, it's an adventure every step of the way.
So I have one of my kiddos is dyslexic, so I understand the uniqueness of that. And then one of my daughters is also loves to edit. So if you ever need an editor down the road, she would love to edit. She's reading a 600-page book that was written by a lawyer right now, and I said, well, how's the book? She's like, the content's actually really great, but it could have used some editing. So anyways, well, congratulations on that, William. I know those are passion projects for you and something that you've really enjoyed working on, so congrats. When will the new book drop? When will it be available?
So we're going to shoot probably first quarter, January. Okay. So right now it's in cutting, just finalizing front cover, back cover, but that's kind of what we're shooting for.
Okay, awesome. All right, take us back. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Kansas City.
Yeah.
On the Kansas side, but went to high school on the Missouri side. So anyone who's been to Kansas City, it's divided by one road, State Line Road. Mm-hmm. We're not very original when it comes to names. We got Kansas City, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri, North Kansas City. So you're constantly lost to which Kansas City you need to go to. Mm-hmm. But it's a great place to grow up and a great place to be from.
And then tell me about your family of origin, your parents, brothers and sisters.
So I've got mom and dad. Mm-hmm. They met over a dead body in medical school, so a cadaver. So I grew up in a household of physicians, so I could never actually fake being sick, because that would, if I tried to fake being sick, that would, continually move into some kind of probing and prodding, x-rays. And so you had to really be careful when you wanted to stay home. I got a younger brother, and a younger sister.
Great. And then are they still in Kansas City?
My sister's in Kansas City. My brother is out in Colorado Springs with his family. And as much as we try to stay in touch, we probably could do a better job of that. But they're both doing well. So.
And then, so school, where'd you go to school?
So I went to Washington University in St. Louis, which has always been an adventure for people. When I say I went to WashU, they're like, well, how'd you like the Northwest? How'd you like Washington, D.C.? I'm like, nope, the name is in St. Louis. But had a great time out there, a great school. But yeah, just went across the state and graduated out of there.
Did you play basketball there?
I would call it a basketball adventure.
Yeah.
Before I realized that I was not going to make any money with my body, and I needed to learn to code poorly. So that's what I'm doing.
So what was your degree in at WashU?
So I got a Bachelor of Science, but I had 3 majors, finance, MIS, Management Information Systems, and Ancient History.
Awesome. Okay. And then what? What happened after that?
So I graduated early and to pursue a...
No surprise there, by the way.
Yeah. It was...
we laugh on our forum because William is one of the smartest guys that we know for sure. He may be the smartest guy we know. So,
well, that's very kind.
A lot of pressure.
Of pressure.
Yeah.
Now I got to deliver on this. And there's kind of a funny story how I was able to graduate early. It's better to be lucky than good. So I'll probably, puncture that bubble that you think that I'm actually really smart, or just I'm kind of falling through life and just falling with hopefully a little bit of grace. But I had a business idea, and it came to me through an internship and everything else. And so I went through an entrepreneurship program at WashU that they had at the time, an entrepreneurial class. They still have it, called the Hatchery and some other things. I think we were the first or second class to go through it. And I'm like, I think this is really something. So I decided to graduate early, moved back to Kansas City, and pursued it for about 4 months, lived in my parents' basement, failed fantastically. It was, I had no idea what I was doing. We actually went to my dad and said, Dad, I got this great idea. This would be awesome. There's computers. It's got a little bit of medicine in it, some preventive medicines type stuff. I called it disease management today. You'd call it wellness. And he's like, Dad, he goes, son, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. I go, great. He goes, I think $65,000, Dad, and we can do this. He goes, not going to do it. I'm like, well, Dad, you just said this is a great idea. And he goes, oh, I'm sure it's a great idea. But if
somebody else.
For somebody else. But if I give you money, then your siblings came to me, and maybe they'd have a not so good idea. Yeah. I'm like, I turned them down. I'm like, okay, good point. Well, he was a pretty sharp guy, because I was living in my parents' basement for there 22 months because the whole thing blew up. So, but I learned a lot, and it kind of parlayed into what I'm doing now, ultimately.
And was that your would you describe that as your first entrepreneurial venture? Or were there things like maybe in junior high and high school that were somewhat entrepreneurial at the time?
So probably it was my really kind of third entrepreneurial thing.
Okay.
So as probably a 6th or 7th grade, there were these things called freeware, and you could like download free little software. And so what I did is I got some buddies together, and we would put these every month, like a subscription service for people. I mean, we had like 10 people that would pay us like $9 a month, but it felt good. And we put little games on it, or little pieces of freeware software in hand to people. And then about 13, with another buddy, we developed a BBS service, a billboarding service, where we thought we were really, really slick. And we ended up getting about 3 home lines coming into my buddy's house. And the thought was that people would pay to drop off their email, and then we'd load it into the local community college so they could, get emails back and forth. And, that didn't make a little money. And then the one that was actually the more successful before this one is, so when I got to campus, we just got wired internet. And I tell my kids this, and they're like, what are you talking about, Dad? I'm like, yeah, it was a pretty big deal. And these kids were downloading music for free with Napster, right? And I'm like, this isn't going to fly. It's great. Well, it's great. You can just download all the music, and there's no way this can continue, because the MP3 format had just come out, and it was a lot less, took less bandwidth and less memory megabytes to get a song. And so I thought, I wonder if I could create a little website that you go in there and you type in, William Short, from Kansas City, and, put some demographic information that I could customize little advertisements, so I could start targeting people. And then you download the free music, and then they put a little ad in there. And I thought that was pretty slick. And I knew some people back in Kansas City that thought it was pretty slick. And so they ended up buying this little code base and everything else from me. And that was kind of fun. Made a little money there. But apparently that might have been a good idea. I should have stuck with it.
Yeah.
I'm not that smart.
Play that one forward. It could have gotten big. Yeah, for sure. All right. So those were all kind of in high school-ish. All right. So then you graduate. from WashU early, move home, 22 months in the basement, trying to birth a business, and then, what happened?
Yeah, so...
Did you raise the money, the 65 grand?
No,
No,
I didn't. I put all the money I had from this previous little entrepreneurial thing into it, and I really thought it was something.
Yeah.
I'm like, so we built some software, had little computers in this personal training gym, and the thought was, if I could, improve people's individual health through fitness, nutrition, working with their primary care physician, I could then lower their insurance costs.
What a novel idea.
I know. And this came from this idea I had when I was interning at this energy trading company in Kansas City. And the short story on that is these guys would energy trade, and if you were 35 and still energy trading, you were the old guy.
Right.
And so they had this program, this email came across, and they're like, anyone can present any idea to the CEO and the president and the head of HR. So I respond back. I'm like, I'm just lowly intern over here, but I've got an idea. Can I present? And they're like, sure, next Tuesday. I had no idea what I was going to present. And I'm like, well, I want to get in front of these people because it was a competitive program. You wanted to get invited back and all these different things.
And this is why you're still in school.
So I'm still in school, still in undergrad, just one summer. And so I come in there and I'm thinking, I wonder if I could figure out a way where these guys can move their age up to 36, 37, because you got this knowledge of the markets around energy. How much more valuable would it be to the company? So I showed up with a presentation that we're going to build a gym. Energy trading company, they own power plants around the world, and my idea was build a gym. The guy before me had an idea for finding arbitrage opportunities with natural gas in Indonesia or someplace. And so I had this whole thing, we're investing in a gym, we're going to measure it. I found some stuff that Coors did with on-site wellness, and I'm like, here you go. And I'll never forget this. The president, Ed Mills, he's sitting there and he goes, William, I have no idea what you're talking about. But the fact that you came in here and presented this to me shows me you've got some gumption. So he turned to the director of HR and said, whatever William wants to do, he can do. And so I thought it was a good idea, but I thought, hey, I'm on the fast track to be an energy trader and be retired by 35. Well, the next summer, a little thing happened. California defaulted on their forward contracts. A little company called Enron kind of took down the whole industry. I went to lunch, came back, and 1,200 traders had been let go.
Yeah.
And that was, another experience, another story for another day. But I came back to WashU. I'm like, there's something here. So when I went to the program at WashU and then decided to graduate early, the idea was I would go find a personal training gym, thinking people that could afford personal training would probably be business owners, specifically small business owners. And I found them and put them through this program. And so we found a couple people that were terrible. One lady had a bunch of heart attacks. I mean, that's pretty rare at 45. And we could show in this program that we wrote that, we got them healthier. And every time I sit down, like, Scott, you were terrible. Now you're healthy. How much does this work to you? And you'd be like, well, really, I feel great, but it's worth nothing. And I'd be like, well, what do you mean it's worth nothing? He said, well, when I get sick, I just go to pay my $10 copay and I feel better. And I'm like, that's not what insurance is designed to be used for.
Right.
And so I kept hitting my head in the wall, and finally I'm like, I have to give up. I don't have any money. I live in my parents' basement. My dad would turn my room into a gym, and he'd come down about 5 a.m. and be like, hey, what's going on? And he'd be working out. Like, why don't you go get a job? Not quite that, but very close.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I better go find a job. So I went through WashU, and they found an interview for me with a logistics company in California called McMaster Carr. So they flew me out there, and they're like, we need guys that can figure out how to put an extra screw in a container to get more screws across the Pacific for our logistics business. And so I'm like, that's pretty boring, but I need a job. So, I'll go through it. And I decided on my flight back from L.A. to Kansas City that I needed something to read. And this is like divine intervention. So I go into this little bookstore.
Might call this a decision point.
Or a decision point.
Yeah.
But I go into this little bookstore. It's still in L.A. Last time I was in L.A., it's still there. And just in LAX. And I go all the way back, and I find this book in the back. Not, facing me, just in the back, called The Wellness Revolution by Paul Zane Pleiser. And I read it cover to cover on the flight back. And he talks about these little pre-tax spending accounts. And I'm like, I couldn't put it down. I was highlighting everything else. I'm like, aha, I know what's wrong. If people had a financial incentive to care about their health, maybe they would. So I come back. That's a Wednesday. Land in Kansas City. I go into this little gym, packing up my computers on Thursday. And one of my clients happened to be a guy named Don Brain. Not my clients, but clients of the gym that went through the program. And he happened to be the president of employee benefits of Lockton at the time. He was based in Kansas City. He drove down. He had a beautiful car. I never forget this. He had an M3, beautiful. And I saw the M3 in the parking lot. I'm like, I don't think Don's coming in today. That's kind of interesting. And there he was. He goes, William, this came across my desk. I thought, you need to see this. And what I learned in that book was there's an account called the Archer Medical Savings Account, which is the precursor for the health savings account. And I'm like, this is really cool. I need to find more about it. And he hands me a application for an Archer MSA, because at the time there were 3 banks that had been given in this pilot program the government put together. One was Banks of Howard Grove in Howard Grove, Wisconsin, which became HSA Bank. Another one was Mellon Bank, which became Bank of New York Mellon. And the third one was UMB Bank, Kansas City. I'm like, and right there was UMB Bank, Kansas City application. I'm like, whoa, I need to do this. So Friday I was in their HR department, like, hey, I'll work anywhere. I want to work on this program. And that started that whole part of the
Interesting. So the book in the back of the bookstore, like you're just in the wellness section and you just find this book.
Not even the wellness section.
Yeah.
Like I just kind of walk in the back, kind of wander around. Sometimes I look lost half the time. It's true. I am lost. And I just kind of was drawn to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I love that. All right. So now you go to work you're at UMB.
Yeah. So I was sat in their HR department.
Yeah.
And
this is United Missouri Bank.
Right.
Yeah.
Based in Kansas City.
So they gave you a job.
They gave me a job.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll work anywhere. I'll do anything.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Well, we believe
it's not a high level job at the time.
No, they put me in a basement.
Yeah.
And they put me in the credit department and their basement at 10 grand. So I was in basement to basement for about 18 months.
Yeah.
Which was an adventure. So.
And was your dad at that time happy because you had a job?
Yes.
Yeah. He was satisfied.
Yes.
All right. So now jump ahead. What's next? What did you learn there? And then what was kind of the next leg of the journey?
Well, one thing I got some great advice on is that if you don't know what you want to do, but you want to be in finance or you want to be in business, go to a credit department in a commercial bank and learn credit. And because you just get to see all these businesses and see how they work, and it really was a great that's true statement, great educational piece. Well, when I got there, my mission was to find this department that was doing Archer MSAs.
So you didn't get hired into that department specifically?
They had no idea what I was talking about.
Yes.
So I'm like, I want to work on Archer MSAs. And they're like, okay, how about credit? I'm like, perfect. And so I'd come in early. I actually ended up getting an apartment with a buddy of mine downtown so I could walk to work. And I get all my work done, and then I go politic. I wrote a white paper on how the bank should get into this, and really didn't know what I was doing, but it sounded good. And I would just go around to people that would listen to me and just show up. And eventually,
do you still have the white paper?
I do.
Yeah, I figured you did.
And I got enough PTO time where in November, I started in August, early August, that I then took my PTO and sat in the chairman's office till he saw me. I'm like, okay, day one. Secretary's like, you have an appointment? I'm like, I do not. Is Mr. Kemper expecting you? I don't think so. Do you work here? I do. Well, what are you doing here? I'm on vacation. So day two, he saw me, great guy, Crosby Kemper Jr. at the time, and he's like, okay, well, I'll take this and I'll make sure, the C of the time was Crosby III, his son, and I'll make sure they see it and everything else, because I think it's pretty cool that you used your vacation to see me. And I think he, sir, and he did. And then sat down with some folks, and some other people heard about what I did, and eventually parachuted out of the credit department and ended up being employee number one for their UMB Healthcare Services that grew out of that.
Yeah. All right. So that whole group started based on the white paper.
That's correct.
Yeah. And so then what?
So, I show up and literally, I'll never forget this. So one of my white paper got to this guy named Pat Thompson, who ran their bond department investment banking division. And so this is all pretty crazy that this guy had taken his vacation to do this. So he comes down to the credit department, comes in, and everybody knows who Pat Thompson is, big executive there. And he goes, which one of you is William Short? I go, over here. I mean, you think about a cube farm. This was the cube farms of cube farms. No windows, in the basement, big tube monitors, not rotary phones, but nearly rotary phones. And I go, well, I'm William. And he goes, all right, pack your stuff and walk with me. And I'm like, all right.
This could be good or bad.
This could be really good or really bad.
Yeah.
So I'm walking with him, and he's not telling me why he wants to see me. And on the walk from the credit department all the way up to the investment banking department, he tells me all the reasons why my white paper won't work. Won't do this, it won't do this. There's too many, restrictions on the Archer MSA, all these different things. And he goes, I know this because I helped put it together and everything else. I'm like, oh, great. I'm walking with this guy with my stuff. Like, what's the end goal here? And he goes, but I've hired you. I'm like, you've hired me? He goes, yep. I want you now. I go, you have a week to get your 7 and 63, and I want you to work on our bond hedging strategy. And I'm like, well, that's completely different. He goes, well, that's not going to work, but you seem pretty smart, and you did all this stuff. I want you in my department. I'm like, well, great, okay. So I thought, well, my healthcare dreams are dead. But you know what? Open another window. I'll go get my 7 and 63. I had a week to get it, study for it, and take the test, and he posted all the scores, and I did pass. Thank goodness.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Not easy to pass in a week.
Yeah. So did that, and then I worked on a hedging program for their bond strategy, which I think they still use today, or part of it. So I just did that. So I thought, well, gosh, I wasn't going to be an energy trader because, Enron. This guy just ripped my white paper apart. Not going to be in healthcare and banking. So I'll be a bond guy. Well, so I did that for a while, and then, but I kept watching because I knew our term MSA was going to expire. At the end of 2003. This is 2003. And then on December 8, 2003, the Medicare Moralization Act was passed by President Bush. And so I'm a bit of a nerd. You might know this. So I read it.
I do know this, but continue.
I read the entire bill.
Of course you did.
And I'm like, holy cow. They created this thing called the health savings account. So I highlighted all this stuff, walked into Mr. Thompson's office, and I said, hey, remember when you pulled me out of credit and we took a little walk? And you told me, no, this isn't going to work? All those things you said why it wasn't going to work have been corrected. And I put the bill with a summary on his desk. He looked at my summary and he goes, whatever you're working on, stop and go do this.
Really?
And so then it began an adventure that, pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I guess I'm in charge of this new healthcare group. So I gave myself a title.
So let's pause for 1 second here, or maybe a minute. How did you, through all of that, like you're exercising an entrepreneurial gear all the way through that, but you're in UMB, maybe not the biggest bank in the country, but it's a decent sized bank for that part of the country. How are you able to exercise your entrepreneurial spirit inside a large organization like that? I mean, did you just feel like at every turn that doors were closing, and then where did the ability to just keep pushing?
Well, I think so. I had a couple advocates. So it wasn't me just by myself.
Yeah.
I had when I went and interviewed the first time in the HR department, they're like, "You need to talk to this guy named Dr. Hanna, who was a behavioral psychologist." Okay, that's kind of interesting. So Dr. Hanna was brought in by the bank to find the next generation of talent, and he developed an entire talent program. So he interviewed me, and he's like, "You're a little different. Obviously, can't write a complete sentence, which is worrisome. We need to write a lot of emails here, a lot of memos."
Did that hurt your feelings when he said that?
No, I've got really thick skin. And so he goes, I'm going to hire you, and you're going to go in the credit department. It's not going to be fun for your personality type, but if you do a great job and you meet with me once a week, I will advocate for me. So I had him advocating for me. And so when I do crazy stuff like show up to meetings with my white paper, or I would sit in the chairman's office for 3 days, 2 days, and I took 3 days off, but 2 days until he saw me. Some people might have been looked down upon that. I mean, this was still, you wear a suit every day.
Right.
There are certain
buttoned up, banking, traditional. Yeah.
Exactly. But
rules.
Rules. But he always advocated for me. And then the other thing I did, two other things I did. One is I always got my work done, and I always did it at high quality. Like my goal was, I want to make everyone around me look great, make them look great. And the third thing was I wanted to build a business within a business.
Yeah.
So I wanted the bank to be successful.
Right.
And if I could do that by doing the entrepreneurial things, all the better.
Right.
So that was kind of my philosophy. I mean, but I didn't do it alone. I mean, I had a lot of advocates that took an interest in me.
Yeah, great. Okay, keep going. So that was the beginning of when he said, all right, go do this, go build this. That was the beginning of...
Right. So, kind of...
the rest of the story,
right.
as they say.
What's the term? Ask for forgiveness after you do it. So I gave myself a title. I became the director of healthcare services. I just invented a title.
Yeah.
And they gave me... I got them to bring business cards. I'm official.
Yeah.
And so I started, I was thinking, okay, what are the things we need to do this? And I had some ideas around that. What needed to happen? There was a flexible spending account, which had been around since the 70s, but they were kind of hard and kind of not, they were there, but there wasn't scalable. And so I thought, well, gosh, we got this HSA. I mean, FSAs can play with them with certain rules. And then we have this HRA thing. And I'm like, what if you could put them on one card and make it easy for people to access cash? And then it would help accelerate the substantiation, because you can't use this for anything to be pre-tax. You got to use it for qualified pre-tax things. Well, to do that, you have to do some stuff with the banking system, the underlying sub-accounting system, and then you need your card processor to go along with it. So I started calling up a little company in Omaha called First Data. And I'm like, I'm the director of healthcare services here at UMB Bank, and here's our ideas we want to work on. You guys in? And they're like, well, that's really interesting. Tell us more about it. I said, well, I think your things are going to come down, and when someone comes to you needing card processing and they're going to need a bank, love for you to give us a call. Well, they gave us a call.
Mm-hmm.
So they called up and said, we've got this little insurance company called Assurance, and they're big in the MSA space, and they want to get into HSAs. And they need a whole solution. Like, great, I'm your guy. And so I filled out this RFP, did all these things, and lo and behold, we were finalists. I mean, I'm the director of healthcare services. Just filled out this RFP.
And you're how old here?
About 22.
Yeah.
So we get the word that we're going to be in a finalist. And so I'm like, well, okay, the gig is up. I don't think I can show up because I looked about 9.
Mm-hmm.
And they're expecting some seasonality here, to show up. So I walk into the president of the bank, whose name is Peter Da Silva. He'd come on, and I said, Peter, I got great news and good news. Like, who are you? And I'm like, well, I'm William Short.
Great news and good news.
Yeah, great news and good news.
Okay.
The great news is, got an RFP that I filled out that we're finalists for. And it's going to be a huge block of business for the bank. The good news is, I need some people to help me. And maybe the bad news, and a little bad news, is I'm the only guy that knows about it in the bank. And so he was in there with the vice chairman of the bank at the time of the meeting. And I had to kind of force my way in there a little bit. A guy named Mark Schmidtline, great guy. And so so I need some help with this. So he turns to Mark and he goes, what are you doing tomorrow? And he goes, well, I've got a couple meetings. Great, you're going to go to Omaha with William Short. So Mark comes out, big, tall guy. And he's like, okay, William, you're going to pick me up tomorrow at 6:30. And you're going to tell me everything I need to know on this whole thing so I can pitch this to Assurance, in the meeting. So I'm pretty nervous. I'm like, okay, what am I doing? So 3 hours up to Omaha, teaching all about the healthcare stuff. He goes in there with Dennis Triplett, another exec. They came in, and we won the deal. And that turned into be the biggest deal, one of the biggest deals the banks have ever had. Mm. And then was able to do something similar with Humana. Where I committed the bank without talking to anybody to about a $25 million line of credit. That was a little scary. Mm-hmm. I knew they were good credit. I mean, I was in credit for 3 months. I mean, obviously I know what I'm doing. And then it fast forward and we started winning these clients and then started building some infrastructure around there. But it was a little bit of, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pull this off, but we'll figure it out.
So how long were you at UMB?
2.5 years.
Okay, so that was a fast 2.5 years.
Yes, it was.
And then, so then you leave UMB, and I want to jump ahead to AmeriFlex. Mm-hmm. So get us to AmeriFlex. Like, what happened? You leave UMB. Why'd you leave?
So UMB, we were killing it.
Yeah,
we were getting all kinds of big deals and everything else, and I became a little bit in this nerdy little world of I wouldn't say celebrity. My daughter thinks I'm a celebrity, but I'm not. But in this little nerd world, people knew what we were up to, and they're like, there's this guy in Kansas City who has built and designed and is killing it with this little bank. And it's a big bank, but not J.P. Morgan.
Right.
And we were beating J.P. Morgan. We were beating Wells Fargo. We were beating Mellon. We were winning everything. And so First Tennessee came in and bought one of my clients' partners in Kansas City, a company called MSaver. And they came to me and said, we would love for you to come over to what they called First Horizon MSaver. That's their brand outside Tennessee. I said, no. I'm pretty happy here. I'm having a great time. Mm-hmm. And they said, it's an open offer. Whatever you want to come over, it's an open offer. And so, I'm kind of anxious. I kind of move and, whatever it may be. And one day I'm like, maybe I should listen to them. Maybe I'll give them a call. And UMB was great. UMB is a great company. We still do a lot of business with them. They're our corporate bank. Can't say enough great things about UMB Bank. And so their chief strategy officer, who turns out to be the stepfather of Justin Timberlake, says, okay.
Little known fact.
I got good stories there too.
Yeah.
He said, all right, you want to talk? I'll send the jet. So they pick me up. Pick me up in a jet. And they fly me out to Memphis, spend the day out there. And he sits down with me, a guy named Paul Harless, a great guy. Very, very, very intelligent man. And he goes, okay, William, tell me how you'd want your compensation package to be. I can do it 2 ways. I can do it where I pay you a lot of money and you have a little bonus. Or I can pay you good money and unlimited bonus. And I didn't hesitate. Pay me a little money, give me unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay. And he goes, what do you need? What else do you need? And I said, well, whatever I come up with, I will do for the bank. I will do well by the bank. But if I come up with crazy ideas, I want to own them. He goes, done. So they did a contract with me that if I had ideas on the side, they had no claim on it. And I'm like, whoa, this is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So
get paid to be an entrepreneur.
I get paid to be an entrepreneur, and it was great. So I spent 6 more weeks at UMB to finish up projects, and which I had to do. I had to get these things done. Then went over to First Horizon, different strategy, different play. Built the system over there with the team over there, great team, and was over there about 2 years. And then how I came to AmeriFlex is I had a side business on the side, doing non-competitive things, of course, and I encountered the ownership group at AmeriFlex, and they said, hey, we'd like for you to come out to New Jersey, and we'd love for you to run this. And I'm like, I love Kansas City. And I'm not, kind of put out there and see what people would say. I'm not moving to New Jersey unless there's an opportunity for me to take over.
Yeah.
And so they agreed. And as of May 1st, 2010, my little company I had on the side acquired the assets of AmeriFlex, and the rest of it's kind of went from there.
All right. So did you move to New Jersey?
I did.
Okay. And how long were you in New Jersey?
About 22 months.
22 months. Okay. So you've got kind of this theme of a couple of years. All right. So somewhere along the way, you met Corinna.
Yes.
So let's diverge for one minute on that.
So some buddies of mine from college, he had a timeshare in Mexico. And he called me up and said, hey, let's get some guys together and go to Mexico. I'm like, I've never been to Mexico. And this is when you go to Mexico with birth certificate and a driver's license. So I show up there, I'm like, great. And literally,
are you at UMB or are you at First Horizon? Or
I
are
was
you
at
on
UMB
your own?
at this time.
Okay. So you're still early in.
Yeah. And literally, first thing I come in, open the door, see the ocean, I look across, there's timeshare, and yeah, so there's Corinna wearing yellow pants. Now, she swears she wasn't wearing yellow pants, but she was wearing yellow pants because I remember. And so I'm like, well, I got to go over there. I got to go. I still don't speak a lick of Spanish. Well, maybe un poquito. And I'm like, hey, hola. And
she's in another unit, or
she's right across, right here. And I'm like, so I said, hola, that's all I could say. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm saying hi. And so she basically ignored me, which is probably good. And then we kept running each other around Cancun's down in Cancun. And so at the end of the week, her friend took my email because she wants to practice her English. I'm like, well, great, I'll practice English. I'm not going to be a good pen pal being dyslexic. So we, practiced with her friend for like a few months. And then 4 or 5 months into pen paling, Corinna gets copied in an email. And she starts sending emails to me. Her friend drops off. And so, eventually she tells me, she's like, I'm going to go with my friend and we're going to go visit her sister in Philadelphia. I'm like, well, if you happen to stop by Kansas City, which is not particularly close,
Right.
I'll show you around. And so she did. She stopped by. And so I'm telling my friends, I'm like, I met this girl 9 months ago. Now, there's nothing extracurricular coming on about that 9-month time frame. And she wants to come see me. I don't know what we're going to do. And literally, I've just been talking to her over email. So it was a little weird and a little scary for both of us, but she showed up and we spent 4 days together, had a great time. And then every couple of weeks started coming back. And fast forward nearly 20 years, we got a couple, a Chihuahua and an obese miniature dachshund and 2 kids and living the
That's awesome. All right. Thanks for sharing that. All right. So you buy the assets of AmeriFlex. You're in New Jersey. You're running AmeriFlex. How'd you structure the buy?
So it was
Where'd you come up with the money?
So didn't have any money.
Yeah.
Well, I had some money, but not enough to buy the assets, and structured it as a seller LBO.
And so, okay, seller LBO. And then what was the business that you had on the side from First Horizon that acquired AmeriFlex? And then what was AmeriFlex, just so our listeners know?
Yeah, so I had this idea with some buddies called drpricing.com. And drpricing.com was this idea that if we could take all this pre-tax money that people had, that we were building these accounts for at UMB and then First Tennessee, they're going to need this cash to purchase qualified pre-tax services. And I thought, wow, geez, I learned that people are using insurance incorrectly, but if we could move insurance to what's really efficient at, and insurance is great for the low probability expensive stuff. You don't use car insurance to pay for oil changes, right? You need car insurance for the catastrophic. You need home insurance for the catastrophic. You need health insurance for the catastrophic. It's not good for the routine. It's not good for the high probability, cheaper stuff, the preventive stuff. So I thought, well, gosh, I know that you have to have a high health plan at the time to have an HSA. And so I'm like, well, there's going to be all this below deductible cash that can be used on a qualified basis, what if I built a market where physicians and healthcare providers could compete for that cash?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the concept. Off that, built the company called AmeriFlex Payments that ended up acquiring the assets. And that was the idea. We tie up these individual pre-tax accounts, FSAs, HRAs, HSAs, take the old Archer MSAs if they still had them, and then provide a marketplace for people to buy and have physicians and providers say, this is my cash price, this is what I'll do for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what ultimately was the structure I did. But, when I arrived at AmeriFlex, being naive, I walked in and literally we had 2 servers. One was the email server that would clunk out every 6:30 a.m. every morning. So it became an adventure who would go in and restart the server. It had a 1-table database that ran everything, and the balances were located in paper notebooks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I knew why. I had an opportunity to come in here. But had an opportunity to use my knowledge to build out the systems that have come to dominate the industry today. But that's the structure we use.
So today, and how long ago was that?
That was 2010.
2010, yeah, you mentioned that earlier. Okay, so 2010. So now we're 15 years down the road. So at some point you got to Dallas. Do you have a quick story on that?
I do. So it was October 2009.
Okay.
And I'm reading an op-ed interview with Governor Perry. And I'm reading. And I always thought Texas was cool, but I didn't. Of course. I've never been to Texas.
Texas is cool.
It's great.
Yeah.
So its own country. And he quotes my favorite supply side economist. And I'm like, I turned to Korea and I'm like, any politician that knows who Frederick Hayek is a pretty smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
And how the structure, how he looks at government, and how he's positioning the state to attract businesses and all these different things. So then I like, well, let me see if they want a company like AmeriFlex.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came down to Dallas, started talking to little cities, everything else, and met a little town named Frisco.
Mm-hmm.
Development agent, ECD up there, Economic Development Council up there. And they put together a package with the governor's office that was just out of this world, tremendous. And decided, turned to her and said, we're going to move to Texas. And she said, I'm only moving to Dallas. And I'm like, why? And she goes, I just think it'd be cool. And we picked Dallas, picked Frisco to begin with. Frisco was great.
Yeah.
The state was great. And we rolled into Texarkana on 12/31, 8:32 p.m. on 2009.
Awesome.
We haven't been anyplace since.
And how many people moved with AmeriFlex at that time? Was it just y'all?
So we came down first.
Yeah.
We were the recon.
Yeah.
And hired our first employee like June 2010.
Okay.
And then people started coming in from New Jersey and all over. It's probably about 30 people in total, that maybe estimate, relocated. And then we've hired everybody around the country. We made some acquisitions of different things. But our base is here in Carrollton, Texas now.
Okay. So tell us the business today. Like, what is AmeriFlex today?
So AmeriFlex is one of the assets of a holding company I've put together the last couple of years called A.E. Perkins. And in that holding group, we have AmeriFlex. And what we do there is we're the largest independently owned, basically processor of FSAs, HRAs. We have our own custodian, HSAs, and COBRA processing.
So largely the same business.
Largely the same business.
Just grown the heck out of it.
Just grown it by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
We then started in 2012, roughly, a payroll company called Workforce Go. Which I have lots of interesting stories. So it's an interesting story there. Another lessons learned: how hard is it to start a payroll company? Apparently, really hard. And then launched in about 2016 a company called Cressa. And then we have some companies that are kind of sub companies that support those main operating businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Been a ton of fun all the way around, and couldn't, like I said, I can't write a better movie script for everything I do every day.
So now, how old are you, William?
I am 44.
44. So you're at the ripe old age of 44. And kind of like the, maybe not quite the midpoint of a professional career, but possibly. How do you think about A.E. Perkins, the holding company, these businesses that you have underneath, and how that evolves over the next 10, 15 years?
It's a question I ask myself all the time. I think it's a matter of, let me tell the story, because I'm being dyslexic. So I recently ran into a friend of mine, and he was telling me about his business. He has a very successful business. And he was telling me, he's a little older. He's almost 50. He's like, I've been thinking I need to take some chips off.
Thank you for saying he's just a little older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he goes, I think I got to take some chips off the table, and I think I'm going to put it up for sale. I said, okay, great. That's great. That's awesome. I said, what are you going to do after that?
Yeah, then what?
Yeah. He goes,
I don't know.
I think I'm going to go buy another business in my space because I know it. And I'm like, why would you do that?
Right.
You've already got one.
Right.
It's already it's paid for. Like, he goes, I guess I never thought it that way. And so I'm kind of the same thing. I don't know. I don't have an answer to it. What I do know is that I love what I do.
Yeah.
And literally, like if I were to sell one of my businesses, and maybe that will happen someday in the structure I have, and it makes sense for...
Well, and you could peel off one of these businesses.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, they're all symbiotic to each other, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And, that may be good for employees to do well and everything else, but then it's like, okay, well, we have a platform. We have the ability where we control our own destiny, which is one of our big objectives we have in our annual roadmap process. And our team, the tenure, I've got people, unfortunately, that only worked for me.
Right.
I'm sorry about that. And literally our executive team, the baby on the executive team's been with us almost 9 years.
Right.
We have developers that have going on nearly 20. And it's like we're on this mission of like, we control our own destiny. So if we want to go start a new business of making pizzas, we can do it. Mm-hmm. And there's and so what I tell people is we're not the quick rich group. Like we're not the unicorns, we're like the camels. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole HBS thing on that. And I've seen these unicorns come into my space. Mm-hmm. And I've seen them make terrible decisions, terrible choices in morality and integrity. And it's like, guys, it's not worth it. Mm-hmm. Like you gotta, like I've literally heard CEOs, say to people, I've lied to my investors, but they expect me to lie to my investors. And to me, it's like maybe one day I'll put something up for sale, or maybe not.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, okay, purpose. It's like people talk about that. Like it's pretty fun being able to go in and say, we don't have to answer anybody. I don't have a board. Mm-hmm. I have an operations board with my team.
Yeah.
I've got an advisory family board with my family. But pros and cons, we are responsible for ourselves, and we answer to ourselves, and we answer to our employees and our clients. And it's like, okay, what would I do next? I'd drive my wife nuts if I was in my house all day.
Well, it sounds like what you would do next would be to turn around and basically continue doing what you're doing. Is that fair?
Yeah.
It's not like you have something that you want to move on to that, because you're, in a sense, you're able to do some of the things you want to do, whether it's write the book, or other things. We haven't gotten into your involvement up at UTD, but, you've got some other things that you've been involved in, but you're able to do those things alongside the current business. So it's not like I've got to sell this in order to unlock capacity to go do the next thing. Is that fair?
100%.
Yeah.
Like, got a great team. It's we think we're very efficient. We think we're very, have a high trust factor that we can finish each other's sentences, which is a little weird. But yeah, I plan my day. And I have a responsibility. I tell my kids all the time, they're like, Dad, why do we got to make our bed every morning? Well, what if I decide not to make payroll? They're like, well, that's totally different. I'm like, no, it's
really.
Not really. It's the same thing.
It's discipline.
Yeah. And I think it's a matter of happiness.
Yeah.
Like Dave Chappelle, he said something, and this is, to me, really defines a lot. So you remember he was top of the comedic world,
right?
Comedy Central,
right? And
his interview he gave, I read it or heard it, and then he just disappeared. He went away. He disappeared for a while. Now he's come back, and and everything else. And if I remember the story correctly, he said in the interview, he goes, I was sitting in a well-known steakhouse, and I'm eating a wonderful steak, and I'm drinking a wonderful red wine. And I look over, and there's a well-known celebrity billionaire that everybody knows. And in his number of marriages and businesses and everything, everyone knows about the choices he's made, some good and some bad. And the stress that he must have in his life and what have you. I'm paraphrasing here. And I notice he's eating the same steak. And I notice he's drinking the same wine I am. And I realize every day I've made the money, I could eat the same steak and drink the same wine. Hell, what do I need more for? Mm-hmm. And I think that's really powerful for me. Why, okay, yeah, I've done well, but what would I do? I go buy a bigger house, I go buy more cars. Like, those things doesn't make me happy. What makes me happy is doing and having a complex problem that I can solve. And it could be, debating one of our forum mates in neo-Marxism, ideology, which we don't have any neo-Marxists in our forum, make it clear. But that's what makes me happy, is solving complex problems.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we talk about this a lot, on Decision Points, and our audience of business owners and entrepreneurs, like it's a very typical thing to want to go monetize. And I respect the place that you're in, where you're like, well, that's not really always the answer. To just go monetize the business and put some cash in your pocket, and then, in some cases, just go rinse and repeat and do the same thing over and over again. So I appreciate your ability to sort of be countercultural in that aspect. So what do you do to protect your your psyche, or how you think about the world, or how you think about things? How do you keep yourself insulated from the pressure of just, the YPO community as an example of always needing to have the exit and the monetization and putting the cash in your pocket? Like, how do you insulate yourself from that?
Well, I think first is there's three things I think there. One is mind, body, and soul.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to do something for your mind every day. Mm-hmm. Read something. Like, I don't watch TV. Like, I'm probably a first-round draft pick for trivia, as long as it's not the latest TV show. I couldn't tell you what Game of Thrones is about. I mean, I think I could figure it out by watching some of the stuff, but I'm like, and there's nothing wrong with watching Game of Thrones. Do what you need to do.
It's Thrones, by the way.
Oh, okay. Thrones.
I think I'm not the one that should be correcting you, but I think it is Game of Thrones. Yeah.
I literally.
Is that right, guys? Yeah. There we go.
I went probably a decade inventing a word called bifurcate.
Yeah.
And literally no one corrected me that bifurcate's not the word. What I wanted to say was bifurcate.
Right.
And finally someone's like, Will, that's not a word. I'm like,
right.
No. Obviously I didn't know that wasn't a word.
Yeah.
So I kind of have being dyslexic, I kind of invent words, and it's an adventure. But you got to do something with your mind every day. You got to, if I don't feel like I've accomplished something or learned something, I feel like I've wasted a day. And I don't want to waste a day. The other thing is you got to take care of your body, work out, eat well. Your body is your factory.
It's the engine.
The engine.
Yeah.
If you're not taking care of your body, you can't take care of your mind. And then soul, that can be a lot of things for different people spiritually. Family and friends, take an interest in people. Like, if you literally take an interest in people and be present, it will open up your own happiness and that connection. And really, life's about relationships and building those good stories with people.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it's a matter, I think, if you have those three dialed in, you find this level of contentment where you don't need anything. You don't need to show off. I mean, I don't care if people, I have a nice car or whatever, but you're not looking for those other things because you already have them. And then I think when you can focus on those things, then you can say, what do I really enjoy? What makes me happy? Well, my family makes me happy. My friends make me happy. I like feeling good. I like, researching nerd stuff on the latest fitness, preventive medicine stuff. I like accomplishing things. Mm-hmm. And I like each day to be something I can look back and say, yep, you know what? That was a good day.
William, thank you so much. This was really great. As you can see, William is one of the smartest guys in the world, if not the, but thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing all that with us today on Decision Points.
Thanks for having me.